Hey guys, I'm in my husband's workshop. As you can see, he's got the Chicago Blackhawks and the Bears magnets and all that stuff. And I've kind of infiltrated his workspace and turned it into my growing room right now. So we're in the basement and I have a new grow rack, and I thought it would be fun to kind of show you the different things that I use for seed starting. And it's not extravagant. They're things that I've accumulated over the years. Matter of fact, my newest addition is the grow rack, but I thought I'd show you how I started the original grow rack I used, and then the other things that I use for seed starting. And there are various things. Everybody's got their own way of starting stuff, and this is just my way of doing it, and it works. And it's really fun. And I should mention too that there are things that it can be costly. These things add up. So these are seed starting things that I've added, that I've accumulated over the years. And as my seed starting knowledge and grows, and my addiction grows, and my desire to grow more unique plants, then I inevitably add to my seed starting setup. So, which is why I got the bigger rack. But everything that I talk about in the video will be in the information below. There'll be links there. And yeah, so let's get started. First off, let's talk about the grow rack. So when I first started sowing seeds, my daughters and I, we have some really nice south-facing windows. So I think our very first things we sowed, like 16, 17 years ago, were tomatoes, and I grew them in a windowsill. And you can absolutely grow things in a windowsill. The only problem with it is they tend to be weaker than the plants that I've started under grow lights. They tend to be a little leggier. They want to lean a lot towards light, so you've got to make sure you rotate those plants in the windowsill all the time. So, but you can definitely do it. It's not impossible. It's just a more effective approach under grow lights, better success rate. And with that kind of space, you can grow a lot more as you get better at seed starting. So let me show you my grow rack first. So once I graduated from starting things in a windowsill, I moved up to a grow rack that had just 3 shelves on it, and I got it from Home Depot many years ago, but hang on, let me show you. Here it is, and it's quite a bit smaller than the new one I have back here, but this was perfect. And it's great for just starting out. When you've graduated from your windowsill and you want a couple racks, this has 3. I could get 3 trays on it, but I didn't have grow lights for the top shelf. This sat in a south-facing window, so the sun, it was really hot in the window, so I would let all the seedlings that were up here just get baked by the sun. I had humidity domes on the tops of these just to keep moisture in while the things were germinating. Things did great. Then I added to these 2 shelves, I had an LED grow light that suspended from each shelf. So you can read about that. I'll link to the blog post too about my early seed starting rack, so you can see how I did it. The blog post has a really good explanation of how I connected everything. Not that it was very involved. It was a pretty simple system. But this was my first grow rack, and it was a Home Depot thing, 3 tiers, and it did the trick because I had a really small seed starting system. I wouldn't even call it a system. It was just experimenting because I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I had to adjust my grow lights because the grow lights were too close to the seedlings, and then seedlings were burning. So it was a lot of experimentation, and this is how I learned, is from the windowsill to a little grow rack. So let me show you next what I graduated to. So here's this big boy. This is another Home Depot grow rack. I think it's HDX was the brand. And I chose this one because of the depth of the shelves, and also just because it gave me a lot more space to start seeds in. So the depth of the shelf that I just showed you, the grow rack, was 12 inches deep. These are 18 inches deep, which makes it possible for me to put 4 trays on each shelf. And I'm not going to use all this space this year. This is just, it's aspirational, I think I would call it, because eventually I will fill all of these in the coming years. But this gives me more wiggle room, more area to experiment. So I can fit 4 trays on each shelf, and I probably will just use 2 shelves this year. And then I'll add grow lights as I go. So these were my original grow lights. So as you can see, my grow lights are a little wonky. I'll adjust all that, but I wanted to give you a close-up of how I've hung these things. The nice thing about these Feit LED lights is that they're connectable. So you can connect them end to end, and then they come with hangers and everything. So I just bought S hooks for it. and they come with the hangers. And then I also buy lengths of chain because sometimes you want them, I definitely want these a little closer just when the seedlings are starting out, and then I'll raise them up. But it's a really nice little system. I'll be adding more to this so that I've got full coverage on this rack. And then I've got some clip lights here that I've got shining down on my mangave that have been sitting down here for the winter, and they're doing great. But the clip lights are really nice for houseplants. You can buy these online and they're quite expensive, but Home Depot also has these. They're like $10 a piece, and I think the grow light's actually even more expensive than the actual clip light. So you can clip these on things, on anything really, and direct your light however you want it to go. So that's another really nice little option to clip on things if you don't want to do a grow rack and you want to do a modest seed starting system. The clip lights are nice too. So you just buy the LED light separate, buy your clamp light, and you're good to go. So that's what I've got going on here. I've got my dahlias up top here, and I'll be adding to this gradually. And I definitely I've got a few more grow lights to connect here. And I won't have grow lights for every rack because it just gets pretty costly. So I'll have enough grow lights to do 2 racks this year, and that'll give me 8 trays. So 4 on each rack. That's 8 trays of seeds that I've started. So not a bad option. This whole system connects to a power strip here. And then the power strip goes all the way up. My husband installed all this for me, and it heads over here to a timer so that it makes sure these lights will stay on, these grow lights will stay on for 14 hours a day, and then they'll shut off. So it takes the thinking out of it. I don't have to come down here and turn it on and shut it off. It does it all for me. So as far as seed starting containers go, I use a variety of containers. I don't really subscribe to one style of container. You can make your own. Maybe it's a yogurt cups or it's toilet paper tubes that you use. You just want to make sure that whatever you're using has drainage holes in it. So otherwise you're setting yourself up for failure. But I found a really cool product at Menards this past winter from Burpee, and I thought it was pretty cool. It's meant for windowsill seed starting. So it would fit a windowsill, but it has a tray that the seed compartments sit in to catch water. But start your seeds in here, and then these are squeezable, so when it comes time to pop these out and you want to plant them in your garden, you just squeeze them out, and there you go. So I'll be using that. I'm starting 8 jalapeno pepper plants this year, and they'll be in this container, and I'll just cover it. It doesn't come with a humidity dome, but this will just go into one of my trays, and I'll put the humidity dome over the whole thing, and it'll be fine. It should grow very well. But I love the system. If you're a windowsill gardener, I think that's pretty cool. And if you just want to start modestly, the way I started a long time ago, it's a good way to go, and it's made well. When I grow in peat pots, and I have several of these left over, so I like to use things up before I buy new. These do great, but they will soften up as you're watering your seedlings, so they might get a little mushy. These are meant to be planted directly, the plant inside, and this dropped right into your planting hole in your garden. But I find that I like to remove the paper, some of the paper, so that the roots have a better opportunity to move beyond the paper, so they're not trying to work through it. So this is another good option, very inexpensive. So I'm really excited to try a new container from Proven Winners. They're biodegradable containers. Start your seeds in them, and the plant food is built right into the container. So as this decomposes, it's feeding the roots of your seedling. And then it's meant to just be dropped. You break the sides off of this, pop them out, and then you drop this right into your planting hole directly into your garden, and then it continues to feed the root system. And I think it's really an excellent idea, and I'm really interested to see how my plants do. So whether you're using containers like this or something like this, or even just the pots that you make out of yogurt cups, the key is you want to make sure you've got drainage in all of them. So once I get things potted up in this, next step, and I had them here. Okay. I am a super messy gardener. I get soil everywhere when I'm starting seeds, but I was looking for an affordable way to contain my seed starting mix without spending a ton of money. And a lot of these seed starting containers, some of them are like $50. I don't have $50 to spend on something that's just going to hold soil. So I went to Home Depot, and I'm not partnering with Home Depot on any of this. I just happen to get a lot of my garden stuff from Home Depot. And I went to their cement mixing section. And in the area where they have the bags of Quickcrete, they also have concrete mixing or cement mixing trays, and these are $7 and they work great. They also have a hole in them, so if you want to put a rope through it and drag this baby around because it's too heavy, you can do that too. But I dumped all my seed starting mix in here, added the water, and now I can, if I want to do this in the kitchen, wherever I can, and I don't have to worry about making a huge mess, although I still get soil on everything. But it's just a great way to contain it without spending a fortune. So I'll get my seeds started in these containers, and then let me move this down a little bit. And then in my tray, I'll start loading it up like that, and then it'll just be kind of a hodgepodge of different types of containers that I use for seed starting. And then once I've got it loaded up, I label all of everything. Everything's been labeled. I have tags and everything. I put a humidity dome on it. So humidity dome just goes over the top. So now I've got it covered with my humidity dome, and the humidity dome just keeps things, as it says, humid, so that the seeds don't dry out. That's the kiss of death. If things dry out, they're not going to germinate. So you want to make sure the moisture is kept inside. And my next step is a heat mat, and I'll take you over there and show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's go out here, and I have my heat mat out here, and I've got my husband's beer growler on there because it's been rolled up for a while and it's curling, so I needed something to weigh it down. But this is my 4-foot long heat mat, and I got a heat mat that came with a thermostat, an adjustable thermostat, because vegetable plants have sweet spots for soil temperature where they'll germinate best, and this lets me adjust that. So you can adjust the heat, and it all just plugs in. It has a little thermometer that goes into the soil in one of the cells of your trays, and then it just keeps track and makes sure that it maintains that temperature. Really nice thing. It's not absolutely necessary. It just speeds up the germination process. Sometimes it can speed it up by 5-6 days. That's been in my experience, at least. So you don't absolutely need a heat mat, but it does speed things up if you are impatient. And then once those seeds have germinated, they come right off the heat mat. You don't want to leave them on the heat mat because then they get leggy and they get weaker. You want to take them off and put them under your grow lights so that they can start photosynthesizing and getting bigger and beautiful and ready to go outside. And I love seed starting. I've definitely grown my seed starting operation. Obviously, I went from a windowsill to a 3-tier shelf to a big guy back here. But it's really nice to start seeds because there's so much more variety out there. The catalogs and everything. Once the seed catalogs start coming in, you start noticing the plethora of seeds that are out there. There's just a world of possibilities, and I want to try as many as I possibly can. And seed starting allows me to do that, and I'm learning as I'm going. I'm always learning. Everybody has a different way of doing things. This is just my way, and I hope that you having seen how I do things, maybe it inspires you to start a few more seeds too and experiment and see what you can get growing and what unique things you can add to your garden and to your wheelhouse. So I hope this helps you, and if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. I'd love it if you subscribed, and thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, guys, and happy spring. I hope you have a wonderful spring season.